Let's be totally honest. One of the biggest problems in America right now is black privilege.
There's BET, there's Black Awards, there's this and this and this. There's all kinds of black privilege in this country, and white people get called racist. I don't give a you guys have your own things and do all that's fine with me, but don't tell me that there isn't an anti-white narrative going on in society, because there is, and there has been since the day I was born. I'm not allowed to say I'm proud to be white. You're allowed to say you're proud to be black. Latinos are allowed to say I'm proud to be Latino. But if a white person says, oh, I'm proud to be white, it's white supremacy. I could go to the internet and find 1,000 examples of black people saying ignorant white people, and you have a very hard time finding public figures that are saying that's black people. In fact,
I can find one.
It does really?
Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, that's right.
Black people have a lot of privilege in America. We can be racist without any repercussions. We can say the N-word while other people are not allowed to say the N-word. We aren't allowed to be criticized, because if we are, then that's people being racist to us. People have to walk on eggshells around us because they can't risk hurting our feelings. The bar has been set so low for us because we cannot do even the most simplest task.
Yes, you heard it right. Black privilege does exist in America, and white Americans are part of against it. This video here today is of much essence to you if you are a black person in America, regardless if you are a black immigrant, the indigenous black Americans, the foundational black Americans. Watch this short coverage till the end so that we can be on the same page. Show your response on the comment section below and I will humbly respond to you. And if you are not a robot or an alien, please do hit the subscribe icon below for more black American hot gossips and trends, white American trending news, black, brown and minority groups in America. Share this video to your fellow family and friends, your black friends. Let them know that white Americans don't like black privilege. It is a bother to them. They always want to be part of white privilege. A question I have for you today: if you're a black person in America, how are you experiencing black privilege? The ratio slash they keep on lashing out loud to you. It is because you people are influential, you people are resilient, and it is a bother to them. On this episode today, we are going to look into both black American perspective and white American perspective. Black Americans, on the other hand, embrace black privilege, while white Americans are part of against black privilege. They only want white privilege to prevail in America. But for the longest time possible, black Americans have suffered under white supremacists like Donald J. Trump, who continues to undermine black American progress. Kindly watch this video step by step till the end, and at the end I'll have more strong commentary on this episode. Let's watch, family.
What's the privilege called when you murder somebody in cold blood and then the judge reduces your bond from $1 million to $250,000 and allows you to be released from jail? And then you get up to like $400,000 in GoFundMe donations just because you're a murderer. And then you buy a whole security team to follow you around. You move yourself and your family into a brand new gated community. You buy a new $150,000 fully loaded Cadillac Escalade. And there's a ton of people out there that support you just because you murdered somebody. What's that privilege called? Because I would love to get some of that privilege.
Check this out. You know, white privilege only exists as a social construct because white people treat other white people better than they treat other races. So as black people, if we want to create black privilege, we need to treat other black people better than we treat other races. And I say this because I just recently put a video out saying that as black people, we need to find loopholes within organizations so that we can treat other black people better than we treat other people. And from my experience, when I was last working in corporate, that's exactly what I did. And to go into a little bit more detail, I was working in a department where I had the ability to refund people up to the amount of £600. These people were traveling using their bank cards or Oyster cards at the time. And when they used to make mistakes on their cards and they would do a refund, they would contact the organization I was working for. I would see the mistake that they had made when they were traveling with the bank card, and I would process the refund. Sometimes it's like £20, £40, whatnot. And in many cases, I could go into their account, look back over 1 year and see if they've made these kind of mistakes before and process like a bulk refund. Oftentimes it'd be like maybe £80 or £100 or so forth. But what I used to do for black people when they used to call up, because I could tell if it's a black person by the sound of their voice, I would go back 6 years, not 1 year. And that was my personal way of treating black people better than white people. Because this is the game we're playing. And I said this previously in a previous video. If we live in a world that has white privilege, then as a black person, I'm going to set about creating black privilege as well to level the playing field. So every time a black person will call up for a refund that they're thinking is about £20, I'm looking back over their account 6 years. So they'll call me and say, I've made a mistake traveling with my bank card. Can I get a refund? And I'm saying to them, no problem, I'll look into it. They're thinking they're getting a refund of £20. I've looked back over 6 years. I've realized that the refund has come up to like £550. So when I'm calling them back, they're over the moon. And I used to enjoy that, calling other black people back, thinking that they're going to get a refund for £20. And I'm telling them, no, you're going to get £550. I used to do it all the time. And I only did that to other black people because that was my way of showing black privilege. Now, to white people, I would go back the standard 1 year, but I would go the extra mile for my own people. And I think if every black person had this same mentality in whatever job you're doing, this would definitely raise our profile as black people. Because as I said before, this is the game we're playing. Think about it.
Black privilege is the most prominent form of privilege in America today, and we have examples to prove it. There was a large group of teenagers that ran through Chicago terrorizing the city. They were vandalizing, they were lighting cars on fire, they were attacking tourists and residents. They even went ahead and they attacked a white girl walking into her apartment building. About 30 of them started punching and kicking her on the floor as she was trying to escape violently. This is black privilege. And the reason why it's black privilege is because there is no major investigation going on. The FBI is not looking into this. There's no hate crimes being, possibly dished out. The mayor-elect actually said, we should not demonize this youth as they have been starved of opportunity. He is giving them excuses, ultimately enabling and encouraging this sort of behavior. This is privilege. If this were a group of white teenagers, the FBI would be working with the mayor of Chicago right now to make sure that there was a hunt, that there were billboards, that anybody that was involved was brought in, and that hate crimes were dished out, and that there would be riots and protests throughout the entire city and possibly every city in America. Black privilege is the privilege to be able to do or say something without having the same social ramifications as other races, especially as white people. That is what black privilege is, and that is what we are seeing. We are seeing differences in the way things are being handled, and it's not just social ramifications anymore. It's now legal precedent. We're seeing as Chicago is not handling this the same way that they would handle it if it was a large group of white teenagers. And again, we're also seeing in America where there was a young boy that was shot and killed because he went up to the wrong house. We don't know the full story, but that seems like what the story was. And an 80-year-old white man shot him thinking that the boy was trying to break into his house or trying to harm him in some way. There was also a couple of other stories throughout America at that time. There was a story of a white girl that pulled into the wrong driveway, and she was shot and killed. Yet, we don't see the same media outrage. We don't see the activism happening. The truth is that this doesn't just happen to black people. It happens to all people. And yes, I understand that we should fight to stop all of it. Unfortunately, we have to live in a reality. And every time we point the finger and say, well, that's because of racism, all we're doing is we're further dividing this country. So why not look at a situation and say, it was really bad that happened. This is the reality that we live in. Let's try to figure out ways that we could stop this from happening. But instead, people start rioting and protesting because they think that there's something that was unfair that's happening to an entire race of people based on one incident.
The only privilege that you see today is black privilege, and I'm gonna show you how. Black people are the only ones that can say any racist thing they want to say and nobody will care. You won't get in trouble for it. I can say the most racist thing in the world to somebody else and it doesn't matter, because why? I'm black. Black privilege. Black people are the only ones that can sue somebody for being racial towards them, and 9 times out of 10 they're gonna win the case. Can't no other race sue anybody and possibly win. Like, we see black privilege in sports all the time. If you got a black player that's good and a white player that's good at football, who they gonna take? The black kid. If you see a black basketball player that's good and a white basketball player that's good, who they gonna take? The black kid. Black privilege. You see a black rapper and a white rapper that's good. Both of them good. Who they gonna take? Who they gonna sign first? The black rapper. Come on, black privilege.
Check this out. I recently uploaded a video where I was talking about black privilege and how it's important for us as black people to treat other black people more importantly and with more respect than we treat any other race, because that is exactly how white people have white privilege. But within the comments under that video, a lot of white people, of which I expected them to say, is that, you know, I shouldn't fight fire with fire. You know, if white people have white privilege, then why should I join them and do the same? And that as a black person, I should treat everybody equally. Now, unfortunately, there was a couple of black people who also agreed with this rhetoric that black people should treat everyone equal, which, to be honest, is exactly what we've been doing. And that's the reason why we have white privilege in the first place, because we as a black community treat everybody equally, whereas white people will favor their own people. And it's not even just white people. Every other race favor their own people above everybody else. But it's only when it comes to us as a community, it's a problem. Again, of which I expected white people to say. But when you have your own black people agreeing with them and saying that we should be equal, all this does is expose lost souls. And I completely understand why black people treating other black people with favor and giving them privilege would be a threat to white people, because it undermines their ability to show privilege to their people. And if everyone's showing privilege to their own people, do they really have privilege? Or do they now become average? And this is what they fear. And I've spoken about this in detail in previous videos, whereas as a black community, the higher we rise, the more as white people, they see that as their ability and privilege coming down. And I've also spoken about that's exactly one of the reasons why Black Wall Street was burnt down, because there was a bunch of black people minding their own bloody business, building a rich, successful, thriving community, which was seen as a threat to white privilege. Because in order to be rich, you have to measure your distance away from those who are poor. And if those who are poor become rich, then you become average. And that's exactly what they fear. And to be honest, black equality is doing exactly what everybody else is doing. And if nobody's going to give you equality, then you have to create it yourself. So if you can identify a race that has privilege, and then you also create privilege for yourself, it's only then that you live in an equal society. Think about it.
I keep getting asked and practically taunted to talk about black privilege, so you know what? I will. Black privilege does exist, as a figment of your imagination. Interestingly enough, the phrase black privilege only cropped up recently as a counterattack to the growing use of white privilege, and is pointed to as a set of societal advantages that black people have access to that other people, i.e. white, don't. Essentially, it's often used to dismiss conversations about systemic racism. The most common examples are the fact that black people are allowed to be proud of and celebrate their heritage, that they get to have exclusive spaces, or that they get to use words that others can't. But A, would any white person decrying black privilege trade all of their advantages for the ones I just mentioned? And B, apart from the fact that these are minor benefits, there is a historical and systemic reason as to why black privilege simply doesn't hold true. After centuries of slavery, segregation, and discrimination, systemic disparities continue to affect black communities today. From education to employment, housing to healthcare, black individuals continue to face disproportionate disadvantages, and trust me, these structural inequalities fly right in the face of black privilege. Privilege, at its core, is a right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group. So let's go back through the advantages I mentioned earlier and put them into perspective. Black people are allowed to be proud of and celebrate their heritage. Well, first of all, celebrating one's heritage doesn't imply superiority, especially not in this case. If you take into account the history of slavery, segregation, unwillingness to acknowledge black contributions, theft of black contributions, underrepresentation, offensive racial caricatures, etc., etc. At its essence, something like Black History Month is about acknowledging and celebrating the unique experiences, contributions, and resilience of black people throughout history and today. Society at large celebrates the accomplishments of white people every day, so much so that it's institutionalized, whether in courts, education, the legal system, or in politics. There's an inequality of recognition, and the fact that some calls to celebrate whiteness are in response to black celebration exemplifies the malignant racism behind it all. White privilege exists because of historic and enduring racism, and to say that it doesn't is simply a way to downplay economic, political, and social inequalities. That also holds true for those decrying the privileges of having exclusive spaces or saying words that other people can't. Nobody has ever said that it wasn't okay to be white. However, our society has long told black people that. We don't live in a post-racial society, and if you really think about it, the notion of black privilege is simply a step towards equality. And interestingly, Interestingly, those decrying black privilege isn't even new. In the US in 1875, Congress passed legislation that banned all discrimination against former enslaved people in public spaces. But then in 1883, the Supreme Court found that law to be unconstitutional, and Justice Joseph Bradley even stated that, quote, "There must come a time when blacks cease to be a special favorite of the laws." This was 18 years after the abolishment of slavery. The majority of black people at the time were former slaves. Of course, this decision then led to the creation of Jim Crow laws, and that's another story for a whole other day. The important thing to remember here is that in many countries, slavery was abolished less than 200 years ago. But yeah, sure, black privilege. Guess that's what it is when you earn in shackles? Also, pointing to a black celebrity, a black politician, or any successful black person to denounce black privilege is quite funny to me because it implies that black people don't have a right to be successful. Or if they are, it's a problem. Ultimately, the idea of black privilege is a weak attempt at getting out of recognizing that our society was built on and still deals with systemic racism. It's a sort of whine from people who don't like being challenged about their white privilege. All one has to do is simply acknowledge that they benefit from it and do their part in changing it, but I guess acknowledging it means confronting it, so some people would rather put their energy elsewhere.
If you're still here with me, what do you have to say about this episode? Do you find it of value? Do you find it of essence? Has it added more educational value to you? If it has, kindly hit the subscribe icon below and I'll continue championing for the rest of black Americans in a white supremacist world. I keep on telling you, black Americans, watch how white Americans react to your progress. They always want you people to remain at the bottom. And why are they furious after discovering black privilege does exist in America? A black person can call the other black person the N-word, but a white person cannot call a black person the N-word. That's black privilege. And that's exactly why white Americans are furious after discovering black Americans are rising to their feet. The midterm elections are around the corner. Choosing for the right leader. Let black privilege prevail. An example I have for you today. On the right side, we have Donald J. Trump with his white privilege. And on the left side, we have Kamala Harris with black privilege. Which between the two sides will you go for? Is it Kamala Harris or is it Donald J. Trump? Black Americans, always know this and always remember, white people are not your enemy. It is only white supremacists who continue to feed them with hatred, and that's why they don't want black Americans to rise to the top. It was a nice session engaging with you, and please and kindly let me know your response in the comment section below. Let us keep this conversation as positive as possible because we are not attacking any kind of group. I am not leaning on the black side or the white side. It is only a video to showcase the word that white Americans are super furious. Black privilege does exist in America and it is a border to them. Thank you for watching, family, and goodbye.